Speaker, I remember when I was still at school in the very late 90s and the early 2000s, when Annette King was a minister, she used to be a positive, happy, contributing member of this parliament. Look how things have changed with the Labour Party, how they are so negative, they are down on New Zealand, they are no longer positive, they don't have anything positive to contribute, and Mr Speaker, it's sad. Mr Speaker, though, the public can see that this government is upbeat, this government is positive for New Zealand, this government brings stability, gives confidence to New Zealanders, and this is a government that New Zealanders can trust. Trust to implement the policies that are needed to lift New Zealand even further. Trust to implement the policies that will help this country grow even more, deliver better public services for New Zealanders and build a better New Zealand for all of us. Mr Speaker, we have delivered over the past 6 years, and this budget shows further progress for New Zealand being delivered by the John Key-led government. Mr Speaker, more New Zealanders are getting jobs. Mr Speaker, more New Zealanders are seeing their wages rise under this government. Mr Speaker, the economy is growing at one of the fastest rates in the OECD. And Mr Speaker, New Zealanders, when they head to the polls in less than 2 months, can compare our record as a government versus the Labour Party's promises and negativity and the Labour Party's down on New Zealand attitude towards New Zealand politics. It isn't positive, it isn't going anywhere, and it isn't good for New Zealand. Mr Speaker, I was listening carefully to a number of the speeches, and I heard the member Jacinda Ardern, my Friday morning TV3 sparring partner, talk about housing affordability. And I wanted to touch on that myself because, Mr Speaker, just a couple of weeks ago I held a public meeting on housing in my electorate. Had a number of signs up around the place, advertised in all of the public newspapers, had a good turnout. I was expecting to get grilled on housing because I know there is a lot of discussion about housing out there. I was surprised, Mr Speaker, at actually how comfortable New Zealanders are with the progress we're making on housing affordability. I almost had to drag questions out of the public because, Mr Speaker, the public can see that on housing affordability and on housing in New Zealand, we have a plan that is going to see housing in the long term become more affordable. Because, Mr Speaker, we are getting more building consents coming through the system. We are building more houses in Auckland. The Labour Party thinks the solution to housing is their high mortgage rates that they delivered when they were last in government. Don't shake your head, Mr Twyford. You know, Mr Speaker, Mr Twyford knows that when Labour was in office, when people like me were getting our first mortgages, we were paying mortgages at 10, 11%. 10, 11% mortgages. Mr Speaker, that was Labour's record when they were in charge of the economy. Mortgage rates at 10, 11%. If you think first home buyers can afford a home, well, you might think so too, Mr Speaker. If the Labour Party thinks first home buyers can afford a home with a 10% mortgage or an 11% mortgage, then they are just kidding themselves. We have delivered an economy which has supported lower interest rates for New Zealanders. If the Labour Party wants to think about the issue that hurts first home buyers the most, it's mortgage rates. And, Mr Speaker, the best way to try and get housing under control in Auckland is to open up more land, build more housing, make it easier for New Zealanders to get into housing. Mr Speaker, I'm proud of the fact that in my area of Flatbush, one of the largest special housing areas has been delivered. Mr Speaker, the National Party, under Nick Smith's guidance, is delivering 39,000 houses over the next 3 years. They're going to be private sector built, private sector delivered. The Labour Party thinks 100,000 houses built by them. They want to build houses in Auckland. They can't even build a caucus that likes each other, but they think they can build housing in Auckland that'll be affordable. Mr Speaker, their plan just won't work. We are delivering a better plan for Auckland when it comes to housing affordability. We are delivering more houses. More building consents are going through. We're opening up more land. We're making it easier for the council to change their rules. The unitary plan is going to be in place in about 3 years, Mr. Speaker. We're also taking the costs down when it comes to building materials. And, Mr. Speaker, we've injected $30 million into the community housing sector. Mr. Speaker, the only person who can look at failure is Phil Twyford and the Labour Party when they delivered high interest rates for first home buyers. We're delivering more housing, we're delivering more consents, we're opening up more land, we're making it easier for New Zealanders to get into housing, Mr. Speaker. And New Zealanders know that they can trust us and have confidence in our leader and our Minister of Finance to deliver policies that will make it easier for them, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also want to talk about...
the honourable member. The time has come for me to leave the chair for the dinner break. This debate's interrupted and I shall resume the chair at 7:30.